The war fleet appeared above Earth without warning. 300 ships materialized from the darkness of space, their hulls gleaming under the light of the distant sun. Each vessel bristled with weapons that had destroyed cities on 47 different worlds. Inside the flagship, Commander Vex stood on the bridge, watching the blue and green planet rotate below him. Vex was Krillian, a species feared across the galaxy. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in armored scales that could deflect most weapons. His 4 eyes scanned the data streaming across the holographic displays. His claws, sharp enough to cut through steel, tapped impatiently against the command console. "This is the world?" he asked his second-in-command, a younger Krillian named Pax. "Yes, Commander. The locals call it Earth. The Galactic Council marked it as a restricted zone. Too dangerous for normal contact." Vex laughed, a harsh sound that made the bridge crew tense. "Dangerous? Look at them. They have not even left their own solar system. They still use chemical rockets. What threat could they possibly pose to us?" On the view screen, Earth continued its slow rotation. Vex could see the continents, the oceans, the white clouds drifting across the surface. It looked peaceful. Beautiful even. Nothing like the harsh world where Krillians evolved, where the gravity crushed bones and the sun burned skin. "Bring up the planetary data," Vex ordered. A hologram appeared showing Earth's statistics. Gravity lighter than the Krillian homeworld. Oxygen-rich atmosphere. Comfortable temperatures. Large bodies of water. The planet seemed almost too perfect. "The Council's report mentions extreme environmental zones," Pax said, pulling up additional information. "Some regions experience temperature variations of 60 degrees within a single day. Others have dangerous wildlife and hostile weather patterns." "Show me the worst zone," Vex commanded. The hologram zoomed in on a massive land mass in the southern hemisphere. Red desert stretched for thousands of kilometers, broken by scattered patches of green. Data scrolled beside the image. Extreme heat, venomous creatures, flash floods, bushfires, deadly insects. "The humans call this Australia," Pax reported. "It has the highest concentration of dangerous species on the planet. Minimal human population in the interior regions." Vex studied the map, formulating his strategy. "Perfect. We land here with 2,000 warriors. If we can conquer their most dangerous territory, the rest of the planet will surrender without a fight. Prepare the dropships." Around him, officers scrambled to relay the orders. 2,000 Krillian soldiers, the finest warriors in the Empire, began boarding assault craft. Each soldier carried enough firepower to level a building. Their armor could withstand temperatures that would melt most metals. They had training, experience, and the arrogance of a species that had never lost a ground battle. In a military bunker deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, General Maria Torres watched the alien fleet on her screens. She had been expecting them. Earth's telescopes had detected the ships 3 hours ago, giving her just enough time to implement the emergency protocols. "All civilians evacuated from the landing zone?" she asked her aide. "Yes, General. The entire region is clear. Our forces are in position, maintaining radio silence." Torres nodded, her expression calm despite the invasion fleet hovering above her planet. "Good, let them land. Do not engage. Let them think we are unprepared." "General, are you sure about this? 2,000 alien soldiers with advanced technology." Torres looked at the young officer and smiled coldly. "Lieutenant, they chose to land in Australia. They have no idea what they just walked into." The Krillian dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their shields glowing orange from the friction. They landed at dawn in the red desert, near a massive rock formation the locals called Uluru. The ships touched down with precision, forming a defensive perimeter. Commander Vex was the first to step onto Earth's soil. He breathed deeply, analyzing the air. Hot, dry, comfortable. The gravity felt almost pleasant after a lifetime on the Krillian homeworld. He could move faster here, jump higher. "Deploy the troops," he ordered. "Establish base camp. Send reconnaissance teams in all directions. I want this territory mapped within 6 hours." The Krillian warriors spread out across the desert with military efficiency. Squads of 50 soldiers moved in formation, their scanners detecting thousands of life forms: birds, reptiles, mammals, small creatures that scattered at their approach. "This will be easy," Lieutenant Cross reported back to Vex. "The wildlife is fleeing from us." The humans are nowhere to be seen. But 3 hours into the mission, everything changed. Squad leader Thax and his team encountered their first Earth predator. Their scanners identified it as a saltwater crocodile 6 meters long, basking on a rock near a river. To the Krillians, it looked slow, primitive, easy prey. Thax approached with his weapon raised, planning to kill it and mount its head as a trophy. The crocodile moved faster than anything Thax had ever seen. Its jaws closed around Warrior Dren with crushing force. The sound of breaking bones echoed across the desert. Dren's screams lasted only seconds before the crocodile dragged him into the water. "Open fire!" Thax shouted, but the creature had already disappeared beneath the murky surface, taking Drain with it. Before the squad could recover, more attacks came. From the trees, from the grass, from holes in the ground. Snakes struck with lightning speed, their venom dropping warriors in seconds. Spiders the size of plates appeared from nowhere. A large bird with massive claws attacked from above, its kicks powerful enough to tear through armor. By the time Thax retreated to base camp, he had lost 12 soldiers. 12 Krillian warriors, killed by Earth's wildlife in less than an hour. Similar reports flooded in from other squads. A team investigating a cave disturbed a colony of bats carrying unknown diseases. Another squad walked into a nest of bull ants whose bites caused paralysis. A warrior died from anaphylactic shock after a bee sting, his body unable to process Earth's allergens. As the sun set on the first day, Commander Vex stood in the center of camp, reviewing casualty reports. 43 warriors dead, not from human weapons, from animals, from insects, from creatures that the humans had lived alongside for thousands of years. "This is impossible," he said quietly. "We are apex predators. We have conquered dozens of worlds. How are we losing soldiers to primitive beasts?" Officer Pax looked up from his scanner, his 4 eyes wide with fear. "Commander, I have been analyzing the data. These creatures, they evolved here, on this planet, and so did the humans. The same humans who now control nuclear weapons and space technology. If their wildlife can kill us this easily, what will the humans do when they finally attack?" Vex felt something he had not experienced in decades of warfare. Doubt. Cold, creeping doubt that perhaps they had made a terrible mistake. In the distance, something howled. Not a dog. Something wilder, closer. And from the darkness, hundreds of eyes reflected the light of the Krillian campfires, watching, waiting. The night brought no rest for the Krillian warriors. Strange sounds echoed across the Australian desert. Howls and screeches from creatures they could not identify. At 0200 hours, perimeter guard Dax spotted movement on his thermal scanner, something large circling the camp. He raised his plasma rifle and activated the spotlight. Wild dogs stood at the edge of the light, their eyes glowing yellow. Not attacking, just watching, studying. Behind them, larger shapes moved through the darkness. Wild boars with tusks like daggers. Feral camels that stood taller than the Krillian soldiers. The animals kept their distance but never left. It felt like being observed by an intelligence that was deciding whether to attack. Commander Vex could not sleep. He reviewed the tactical data, trying to understand how his elite force had lost so many warriors to simple wildlife. The Krillian Empire had invaded frozen worlds where the ice itself was alive. They had conquered desert planets where sandstorms could strip flesh from bone. But this place felt different. Every rock could hide a snake. Every tree could contain something venomous. The planet itself seemed hostile to their presence. "Commander," Officer Pax called out urgently, "the weather satellites are detecting something unusual." Vex joined him at the scanner station. "What is it?" "Wind patterns changing rapidly. Temperature rising. And there is smoke on the horizon moving toward us at 70 kilometers per hour. Smoke?" Before Pax could answer, the alarm sirens screamed across the camp. Warriors rushed to their posts, weapons ready, expecting a human attack. Instead, they saw something far worse. A wall of fire stretched across the entire horizon. Orange and red flames towering 30 meters high, consuming everything in their path. The bushfire raced toward them with terrifying speed, driven by powerful winds that made the flames jump hundreds of meters ahead. "All personnel to the dropships," Vex ordered. "Immediate evacuation!" But the fire was too fast. It surrounded the camp within minutes, cutting off escape routes. Warriors ran in panic as the temperature soared past 100 degrees Celsius. Their heat-resistant armor, designed for combat, could not withstand this natural furnace. "Use the plasma cannons," Lieutenant Cross shouted. "Blast a path through the fire!" The Krillians opened fire with their most powerful weapons, creating craters in the earth. But the fire simply flowed around the barriers like water. Eucalyptus trees exploded from the heat, sending burning debris in all directions. The oil in the trees acted like fuel, making the flames burn hotter and spread faster. Warriors caught at the edge of the perimeter died screaming. Others suffocated as the fire consumed all the oxygen from the air. Vex grabbed Officer Pax and pulled him toward a rocky outcrop where the flames were less intense. Around them, 300 more Krillians died in 20 minutes. Then, as suddenly as it began, the fire changed direction. The wind shifted and the flames rushed away, chasing new fuel across the desert. The Krillians stood in a circle of ash and scorched earth, their armor blackened, their spirits broken. 700 soldiers remained from the original 2,000. In less than 24 hours, they had lost more than half their invasion force, and they still had not encountered a single human soldier. "This was deliberate," Vex said, coughing smoke from his lungs. "The humans started that fire. They used the environment as a weapon." Pax checked his scanner with trembling claws. "Commander, I found records in their communication networks. Humans have been managing this land with controlled fires for over 60,000 years. They know exactly how the flames will move, where they will go. Someone triggered this knowing we were here." The realization settled over Vex like ice water. The humans were not hiding because they were afraid. They were letting the planet do the fighting for them. By noon, the sky darkened impossibly fast. Black clouds rolled across the desert, blocking out the sun. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in minutes. Thunder rumbled in the distance, growing closer with each passing second. "What now?" Lieutenant Cross asked, his voice hollow with exhaustion. The first raindrop hit Vex's helmet. Then another. Then millions. The storm unleashed itself with brutal force. Rain fell so hard it felt like being hit with gravel. Lightning struck every few seconds, close enough that Vex could taste the electricity in the air. The ground, baked hard by the fire just hours ago, could not absorb the water. Flash floods formed instantly, rivers of mud rushing through the camp. "To higher ground!" Vex ordered. But the communications were drowned out by thunder. Hailstones began to fall, each one the size of a fist, falling from the sky with enough force to crack helmets and dent armor. Warriors tried to take shelter in the dropships, but the vessels were sinking in mud, their landing gear submerged. A lightning bolt hit the fuel depot. The explosion killed 30 Krillians instantly and destroyed half their remaining supplies. Warriors huddled together trying to protect each other from the hail and wind, but nature was relentless. For 6 hours, the storm battered them. When it finally passed, Commander Vex crawled out from under a collapsed shelter. Bodies lay scattered across the camp, some killed by lightning, others drowned in the flash floods, many crushed by hail. He counted the survivors. 450 warriors remained. "Get the ships operational," he ordered quietly. "We are leaving this nightmare planet." The chief engineer, Torx, inspected the dropships and turned to face Vex with defeat in his eyes. "Commander, the ships are damaged. The electronics are fried by lightning. Water got into the systems. And there is something else?" "What?" "Insects. Millions of them moved into the ships during the storm. Small red ants. They are nesting in the wiring. Every time we try to power up the systems, they create electrical shorts. They conduct electricity. These tiny creatures are disabling billion-credit military technology." Vex stared at the ants swarming through his invasion fleet. Each insect smaller than his smallest claw, yet together they had accomplished what no enemy army had ever done. They had grounded the Krillian war fleet. "Send a distress signal to our ships in orbit," Vex commanded. "We need immediate extraction." Officer Pax looked up from his communications console, terror in his 4 eyes. "Commander, the fleet is gone." "What do you mean gone?" "I am detecting massive debris fields in orbit. Our 300 warships have been destroyed. We are stranded." The words hit Vex harder than any weapon. Stranded on a planet that killed with wildlife, fire, and weather. "Cut off from the Empire, alone. How?" he whispered. High above Earth, General Torres watched the orbital debris through her satellite feeds. The engagement had lasted 17 minutes. When the Krillian fleet tried to deploy orbital bombardment weapons, Earth's hidden defense network activated. Railgun satellites, invisible to standard scans, had fired tungsten rods at near light speed. 300 warships reduced to scrap metal. Phase 3, Torres said into her headset. Time to introduce them to humanity. Dawn broke over the Australian desert with painful brightness. Commander Vex gathered his remaining 450 warriors in the center of the ruined camp. Their armor was scorched black from the fire. Their weapons were dirty from the mud. But they were still soldiers of the Krillian Empire, and soldiers do not surrender. We need hostages, Vex announced. Officer Pax, scan for human settlements. Pax worked his scanner for several minutes before looking up with something like hope in his eyes. I found one. 15 kilometers south. Life signs indicate approximately 200 humans. A small town, Vex made his decision quickly. We march at first light tomorrow. 450 warriors against 200 primitive humans. We take the settlement, capture civilians, and force their government to evacuate us from this planet. Lieutenant Cross nodded slowly. Finally, odds in our favor. But as the Krillians prepared for the march, none of them noticed the boot prints appearing in the soft earth around their camp. Human tracks circling their position. Observers counting their numbers, studying their weapons, planning. In a hidden command post 30 kilometers away, Captain Rebecca Walsh reviewed the reconnaissance data. She was a veteran of 20 years in the Australian Defence Force, weathered and tough like the land she defended. Around her, 40 of her best soldiers checked their weapons. Not plasma rifles or energy shields, just conventional firearms, rifles that had been manufactured decades ago. They are coming to us, Walsh said to her team. Let them. Staff Sergeant Morrison, take your sniper teams into position along their route. Hit and fade tactics. Make them afraid of every tree, every rock. The rest of you prepare the town. Full urban warfare setup, Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison grinned as he loaded his rifle. The Barrett M82 was old technology, created in 1982. But the 50 caliber round did not care about age. It cared about physics. 13,000 joules of kinetic energy, enough to punch through any armor the Krillians possessed. Time to go hunting, Morrison said. The Krillian column moved out at dawn, marching in tight military formation. They traveled through sparse woodland, following their scanners toward the human settlement. The morning was quiet. Too quiet. Then the first shot rang out. Warrior Drek at the rear of the column dropped without warning. A hole punched clean through his helmet. His body hit the ground before anyone heard the sound of the gunshot. Contact rear! Lieutenant Cross shouted, spinning with his weapon raised. The forest was empty. Nothing moved among the trees. Another shot. This time from the left flank. Another warrior fell. Return fire, Vex ordered. The Krillians unleashed plasma bolts into the trees, vaporizing wood and starting small fires. But they were shooting at ghosts. The humans were invisible. A third shot came from ahead, a fourth from the right, a fifth from behind again. They are everywhere, Officer Pax screamed, firing wildly at shadows. The Krillian formation dissolved into panic. Warriors shot in all directions, hitting nothing, while one by one their soldiers dropped with precision shots to the head. 20 warriors dead in 10 minutes and not a single enemy visible. In the trees, Jake Morrison adjusted his scope and exhaled slowly. He squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked against his shoulder. Through the scope, he watched another alien fall. He was already moving before the body hit the ground, running to a new position 50 meters away. Shoot and move. Never stay in one place. It was a tactic humans had perfected over centuries of warfare. Around the Krillian column, 40 human snipers were doing the same thing. Each shot came from a different location. Each shooter disappeared before the aliens could return fire. It was not a battle. It was a hunt. Advance to the settlement, Vex ordered desperately. We cannot fight what we cannot see. The Krillians ran, abandoning their dead, desperate to reach the human town where they could take hostages and create a defensive position. They broke through the tree line and saw it. A small rural settlement with perhaps 30 buildings clustered around a central square. Quiet, seemingly undefended. Clear every building, Vex commanded. Find the humans! His warriors kicked down doors and rushed through homes and shops, searching frantically for civilians to capture. They found nothing. Every building was empty. The town had been evacuated. They knew we were coming, Lieutenant Cross said, his voice hollow. They lured us here. That was when Vex saw them, standing in the open in the center of the town square. 40 humans in military camouflage, armed with rifles, not hiding anymore. Just waiting. One human stepped forward. A woman with gray hair and cold blue eyes. She spoke into a device, and a translator converted her words to Krillian language. I am Captain Rebecca Walsh, Australian Defense Force. You invaded our world, killed our wildlife, burned our land. Now you pay the price, Vex laughed, though it sounded forced even to his own ears. 40 humans against 450 Krillian warriors? You are insane? Walsh smiled. And it was the most terrifying expression Vex had ever seen on any species. Who said there were only 40? The buildings exploded with movement, not bombs, people. Hundreds of soldiers burst from hidden positions. They had been there all along, concealed in attics and basements and crawl spaces and underground tunnels. The empty town had been full of warriors waiting in ambush. The Krillians found themselves in a kill box. Crossfire from every direction, grenades arcing through windows. Rockets streaking from rooftops. The humans were not using advanced energy weapons. They used explosives, bullets, and fire. Primitive technology deployed with devastating efficiency. Scatter, Vex shouted, but there was nowhere to go. Every street was a death trap. Every building hid more enemies. Through the chaos, Vex saw something that shattered his spirit. A human teenager, perhaps 16 years old, running across a rooftop. She carried a rifle almost as big as herself. She dropped to one knee, fired 3 shots with casual precision, and 3 Krillian warriors fell. Then she was up and running again, vanishing into smoke. A child. A human child was killing his elite soldiers. Retreat, Vex ordered, abandoning all objectives. Everyone back to the landing site. The surviving Krillians fled and the humans let them go. Not from mercy, from strategy. By the time Vex reached the safety of the open desert, he counted his warriors. 170 remained. In 3 days, Earth had reduced his invasion force of 2,000 to less than 200. Officer Pax was weeping, his scales wet with stress fluids. How are they winning? They are primitives. They have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, Lieutenant Cross, covered in soot and blood, answered quietly. Because they are Deathworlders. Just like us. But they have been fighting on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. We have been here for 3 days. Commander Vex sat heavily on the scorched earth. His weapons were useless against an enemy that refused to fight fair, an enemy that used the planet itself as a weapon, an enemy that treated warfare not as glory but as science. In the distance, loudspeakers activated. Captain Walsh's voice echoed across the desert. You have one chance to leave this planet alive. Surrender now, and we will provide medical aid. Refuse, and we will let Earth finish what we started. Vex looked at his broken army and knew the invasion was over. They had not conquered Earth. Earth had conquered them. The night after the battle, Commander Vex made his decision. He would accept the human terms. Surrender, request medical aid, repair the ships and leave this cursed planet. But as dawn approached, a new horror emerged from the darkness. Warrior Fell collapsed during his guard shift, vomiting violently. Within an hour, 20 more Krillians showed the same symptoms: fever, convulsions, respiratory failure, blood seeping from their eyes and nostrils. The medical officer, a specialist named Hex, worked frantically with equipment designed for battle injuries, not disease. He scanned the sick warriors with trembling claws. Commander, Hex reported, his voice shaking. They are infected. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, dozens of different pathogens. Our immune systems have never encountered anything like this. We have no defenses. From where? Vex demanded. We wore sealed armor. We filtered the air. Hex pulled up data on his scanner. The bushfire. It released spores from burning plants. The storm. We drank contaminated water. The mud. We breathed in particles. And last night, he hesitated. Commander, review the security footage from 0300 hours. Vex accessed the recordings. 6 figures in sealed environmental suits approached the Krillian camp in the darkness. They carried metallic canisters and sprayed something over the sleeping warriors. A mist, invisible to the naked eye. Then they disappeared back into the night. Biological warfare, Lieutenant Cross whispered. They weaponized their own diseases. Officer Pax was checking his scanner, his 4 eyes wide with terror. Commander, this is worse than we thought. I am analyzing the spray they used. It contains concentrated samples of Earth bacteria and viruses. Influenza, pneumonia, tuberculosis, diseases that humans carry naturally. To them, these are common illnesses. To us, they are fatal. By noon, 60 warriors were sick. By evening, 80. The infection spread through the camp like wildfire. Warriors who had survived wildlife attacks, bushfires, and combat were dying from microscopic enemies they could not even see. Then the humans arrived. Vex watched through his thermal scanner as a convoy approached from the north. Military vehicles, dozens of them, forming a perimeter around the Krillian position. But they stopped 3 kilometers away, just beyond the range of Krillian plasma weapons. They formed a circle and waited. A communication came through on standard galactic channels. A hologram appeared in the center of the camp. A human woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore a military uniform covered in medals and insignia. Commander Vex of the Krillian Empire, she said formally. I am General Maria Torres, representing Earth's Unified Defense Command. We need to discuss your situation. Vex wanted to refuse, to maintain some dignity, but what was the point? His invasion had failed completely. Speak, he said quietly. Torres looked around at the sick and dying warriors. You are stranded. Your ships are damaged. Your soldiers are infected with Earth pathogens. By all rights, we should eliminate you as a threat. But we are not monsters. You infected us with biological weapons, Vex snarled. We exposed you to Earth's natural environment, Torres corrected. Every disease you are suffering from exists naturally on our planet. Humans carry these pathogens. We are immune or resistant to most of them. Our immune systems evolved alongside these microbes for 300,000 years. But you? She shook her head. Your bodies have never encountered anything like our bacteria. To you, simply breathing Earth's air is toxic. Officer Pax checked his scanner again, then looked at Torres's hologram with dawning horror. Commander, she is right. I am detecting millions of microorganisms on her skin, in her breath, living in her hair. She is covered in bacteria and viruses. Harmless to her. Fatal to us, Torres continued. Every human on this planet is a walking biological weapon just by existing. We do not need to create bioweapons. We are the bioweapons. The truth of it hit Vex like a physical blow. The humans had not violated any warfare conventions. They had simply let nature take its course. Earth's environment was the weapon. The humans had just learned to survive it. Here is what will happen, Torres said. We will provide medical treatment. Our doctors will stabilize your infected soldiers. We will help repair your ships. And then you will leave. All of you who can travel. Why? Vex asked. Why help us? Torres's expression hardened. Because I want you to go back to your empire and tell them exactly what happened here. I want every species in the galaxy to know that Earth is not defenseless. We are not primitive. We are a death world that created a death world species. She stepped closer to his hologram. 2,000 Krillian warriors landed on Earth, the most dangerous soldiers in the galaxy. Stronger than humans, faster than humans, better armed than humans. And in 72 hours, we reduced your force to 170 survivors. Not through superior technology, through superior adaptation. You want us to spread fear? Vex said quietly. I want you to spread truth, Torres replied. Earth will defend itself, with every weapon available, environmental, biological, conventional, and if necessary, nuclear. We have been fighting for survival on this planet since before we could make tools. We know how to win. Over the next 2 days, human medical teams arrived in full containment suits. They treated the infected Krillians with antibiotics, antivirals, and emergency surgery when needed. They worked around the clock, saving lives that Hex could not save with Krillian technology. 20 warriors died despite treatment, their systems too compromised. But 40 others survived because of human intervention. Engineers, both human and Krillian, worked together to repair 3 dropships. The humans shared technical solutions and spare parts. They did not sabotage or deceive. They kept their word. On the final night, Captain Walsh visited the Krillian camp. She brought food rations, sealed and safe for Krillian biology. She sat across from Commander Vex. "Why Australia?" she asked. "Of all the places on Earth, why land in our deadliest region?" Vex laughed bitterly. "The Galactic Council data said it was your most dangerous zone. We thought conquering it would break your spirit." Walsh smiled. The Council was not wrong. Australia is deadly. 50 of the world's most venomous snakes live here. We have spiders that can kill in minutes. Crocodiles that have not evolved in millions of years because they are already perfect predators. Jellyfish whose sting causes pain so intense people beg for death. "Then how do you survive?" Vex asked. "We adapted," Walsh said simply. "We learned which creatures to avoid and which to respect. We built cities in the desert. We developed antivenoms. We studied the land until we understood it better than it understood itself. That is what makes humans dangerous, Commander. Not our weapons, our adaptability. Drop us on any planet in the galaxy and we will figure out how to survive, how to thrive." She stood to leave, then turned back. "Your empire sent you to conquer an easy target. Tell them the truth. Tell them Earth is not easy. We are the planet that taught our species to survive impossible odds, and we will defend our home against anyone who threatens it." The next morning, 3 dropships lifted off carrying 150 Krillians. The survivors watched Earth shrink below them, the blue and green planet that had destroyed their invasion force without deploying a single advanced weapon system. 3 weeks after escaping Earth, the Krillian dropships drifted through deep space. Commander Vex stared at the fuel gauge with growing despair. 2% remaining. Life support failing. The engines were running on fumes. Any response from the Empire? Vex asked Officer Pax. "Nothing, Commander. We have broadcast distress signals for 19 days. The Empire is not responding." Lieutenant Cross looked up from the medical bay where he was checking on the recovering patients. "They abandoned us. The Empire declared us contaminated. They think we are carrying Earth diseases back to the homeworld." Vex felt the weight of those words. They had survived Earth only to be rejected by their own people. 150 Krillians trapped in 3 dying ships with nowhere to go. Then something appeared on the sensors. A massive vessel emerging from slipspace. But it was not Krillian. The ship bore the symbol of the Galactic Council, the political body that governed relations between hundreds of species across the galaxy. "They found us," Pax said with relief. "Within minutes, tractor beams pulled the Krillian dropships into a huge hangar bay. Medical teams wearing environmental suits rushed to help. These were Valerians, a species known throughout the galaxy for their healing skills. They had silver skin and gentle voices. One Valerian physician named Tell examined the Krillians with efficient care. "You're fortunate we arrived in time. Your life support would have failed within 6 hours. "Why did you come?" Vex asked. "Why did the Council send ships to rescue us?" Tell worked on treating a wounded warrior while he spoke. "Your Empire received your distress signals. They chose not to respond. They consider you too dangerous to bring home because of potential contamination from Earth pathogens. But the Council believes all life has value. We came because it was the right thing to do." Over the next several hours, the Valerians stabilized the sick Krillians and provided food and water. Vex was moved to a recovery room where he met someone unexpected. A figure with crystalline skin that reflected light in rainbow patterns stood before him. Ambassador Krell of the Galactic Council, one of the most powerful politicians in the galaxy. "Commander Vex," Krell said formally, "we have been monitoring the situation on Earth, your invasion, the destruction of your orbital fleet, your retreat. We need to discuss what happened." "The humans defeated us," Vex said simply. "That is what happened." "The entire galaxy knows that now," Krell replied. He activated a holographic display. 3 days ago, Earth made contact with the Galactic Council. Their first official communication with our civilization. They sent us this message. The hologram showed General Torres standing in a large assembly hall. Behind her, thousands of humans from every nation on Earth stood united. She spoke directly to the camera. "To the Galactic Council and all spacefaring civilizations. I am General Maria Torres, representing Earth's Unified Defense Command. We understand our defensive actions against the Krillian invasion have raised concerns across the galaxy. Let me be clear about our intentions. Torres paused, looking directly into the camera with steel in her eyes. Earth is not interested in conquest. We are not a threat to peaceful species. But we will defend ourselves with every weapon at our disposal against anyone who attacks our world. The Krillians sent 2,000 warriors to conquer us. We returned 150 survivors. Consider this both a warning and an invitation. The camera pulled back to show the massive assembly. We know about the Galactic Council. We have monitored your communications for decades. We have built our own technology while you debated whether we were worth contacting. We chose to remain hidden until we were ready. Now we are ready, Torres continued. We offer the galaxy a choice. Treat us as enemies, and every species that invades will face the same fate as the Krillians. Or treat us as potential allies. We have much to offer: technology, resources, and the survival instincts of a Deathworld species that spent 300,000 years learning how to overcome impossible challenges. The hologram displayed detailed information about Earth, the wildlife, the weather patterns, the diseases, the military capabilities, everything laid bare for the galaxy to see. We hide nothing, Torres said. Let every civilization know exactly what they face if they choose conflict. Earth's gravity is lighter than many worlds. Our species is physically weaker than many others. But we compensate with intelligence, strategy, and an absolute refusal to surrender. We are the planet that taught our ancestors to fear the dark and then conquer it anyway. Torres looked directly at the camera one final time. The Galactic Council can choose to welcome us as members, or they can try to contain us. But understand this: humanity is going to the stars. Ready or not, we have arrived. The transmission ended. Ambassador Krell looked at Commander Vex. The entire galaxy watched that broadcast. Your empire wanted to suppress information about Earth, keep the defeat quiet. But humans made that impossible. They announced themselves to everyone. What will the Council do? Vex asked. We are debating, Krell admitted. Some species want Earth quarantined as too dangerous. Others see opportunity. Humans are brutal when threatened, but they also saved your lives when they could have let you die. That shows both strength and mercy, qualities we need in the galactic community. Over the following weeks, Vex learned more about Earth's impact. The Krillian Empire had mobilized its military, terrified that humans would counterattack. Other species were studying human tactics and biology. The Galactic Council was preparing to send diplomats to Earth for the first time, but only 5 Krillians would return to their homeworld. Commander Vex, Lieutenant Cross, Officer Pax, Physician Hex, and 1 warrior named Rel. The others remained in quarantine, still carrying traces of Earth pathogens that might never fully clear their systems. Before leaving, Vex recorded his official report to the Krillian Empire. He told the truth. Every detail: the wildlife, the fire, the storm, the human soldiers with their primitive weapons and advanced tactics, the diseases that came from simply breathing Earth's air. He ended the report with a final statement. 2,000 warriors invaded Earth. 5 are returning to tell this story. Let that number stand as evidence of human capability. They are not our enemies unless we make them so, but they are our equals, perhaps our superiors, in the one skill that matters most: survival. Recommendation to the Empire: offer friendship if possible. Maintain distance if necessary, but never invade again, because next time, none of us will come home. 3 months after the invasion, Commander Vex stood on the observation deck of a Council medical station, watching Earth through the view screen. The blue planet looked peaceful from this distance. Beautiful. But Vex knew the truth. That beauty hid the most dangerous world in the galaxy, and on that world lived a species that had learned not just to survive, but to master their deadly home. A species now ready to join the stars.